relaxing, plaintive theme from the much-loved Mackenzie Crook, Toby Jones comic drama The Detectorist. Now, the show revolves around the lives of Andy and Lance. They're two detectorists who dig for treasure in the British countryside using metal detectors. Lance and Andy, and no doubt all their friends, would argue that when they scan the terrain, finding coins and ring pulls, they do it responsibly. So, with that in mind, how sad it is to hear that a Roman villa in Scarborough has been badly damaged by irresponsible detector-wielding vandals. These vandals, of course, not to be confused with the original Vandals, who ironically sacked Rome in 455, I read in Wikipedia, hence the expression to vandalise. Anyway, here to talk about the archaeological vandalism is the self-styled muddy archaeologist, writer, broadcaster and archaeologist, Gillian Hovell, who joins us now. Hello, Gillian.
Hello, Perry. Hi there.
What's your reaction to this news, first off?
Oh, well, when I first discovered it, I was really, really, really sad. It's devastating because you get this wonderful, wonderful discovery. And, within hours, people had broken in, got round their security that they put in place and raided it for, well, whatever. We're still finding out what they've raided it. But they certainly got in there to try and find things.
Of course, we won't know what they've found unless they're caught red-handed, will we?
Well, it looks like from the reports, they've broken into a building, and it may be that it was the finds huts, as we usually call them. But yes, they were probably scavenging around the landscape as well.
There is a responsible community of detectorists out there, and I think I need to emphasise that, because
Definitely.
This is clearly just some completely selfish lawbreakers who are tarnishing their name. What can you do if you're on a dig, you're an archaeologist, you make this new exciting find? What can you do to protect it?
Well, you'll often find that when you read about discoveries, it says, it was first discovered 4 years ago. And people go, well, why is it news now? And it's precisely for this reason. So until you've actually excavated it, recorded, often you just keep it very, very quiet. But obviously the locals will spot what you're doing and know what's going on. So sometimes it's better to just put it out in the public, get a lot of attention. They want to try to make sure that this site is preserved, and it will be. The developers of the area are going to keep it as a green space, but covered up for its own safety. And so it pays off to tell people, and people get enthusiastic, and you need funding for these works, and it's great to have people watching the excavations. I've had many an audience watching me dig, and it gets everybody engaged in it. But what you can do is you put a lot of security in, and they did, but somehow they got through the fences and got round it, so they've upped that. I know that.
It's shocking, isn't it? This is quite a special one as well. Tell me about this. Is in Scarborough. It's a new Roman villa. It's very old, of course, but it's a newly discovered Roman villa, and it so far is the first of its kind to be discovered.
It's absolutely fantastic. It's got a round area in the middle of one of the buildings with 4 jutty out rectangles, and that's completely new. And it's not just new in northern Britain for Rome. It's not just new in all of Britain, Roman Britain. It seems to be new anywhere in the Roman Empire. And that means we don't know what's going on. It's got a bathhouse separately as well. They don't know if it's a home. They don't know if it's a religious sort of pilgrimage sanctuary kind of place. We don't know if it's just some kind of super rich farm or a hybrid of it all. And every single item that we find as a result gives us a clue. We don't know what the big picture is, so every piece makes a difference.
So how much damage has been done to this site? Do you know?
Well, it depends what they took. It's difficult to know. It's like saying what piece of the jigsaw is missing when you haven't got it. So if you, for example, if you take coins, they're good dating evidence. If you take and if it had, this one would be later, but if it was close to the Iron Age, it would show us how the locals and the Romans were connecting at the beginning. It could answer that. If you take jewellery out of a burial, we could not know that that person was elite, or indeed where their jewellery had come from. We might not know where certain items, they might have been traded from far, far away. And we might think, oh, it's just a little local place. But we might have lost the fact that it's connected, and this is clearly good quality. So presumably they had connections, and we'd like to know where those connections were. And we can tell that from the style of jewellery and the items that we find. So every single piece is one of those precious, precious pieces of jigsaw.
I know detectorists are at risk of getting a bad name for themselves with these sort of stories, and as I was at pains to emphasise, and you sort of back me up on, is that there are so many responsible detectorists.
Oh, I've worked with some, yes.
Well, that's what I wanted.
There are many who work with the archaeologists, and there are many who report their finds to the public, the Portable Antiquities Scheme, and they record things and they dig responsibly, as opposed to just sort of making a hash mess. Going through everything.
That's what I was going to ask you, actually, is about the usefulness of a metal detector. I mean, would you ever use a metal detector within a dig?
Yes, all the time. It's in fact, before you pick up a trowel, you use all sorts of scanners and detectors, and you survey the landscape, and metal detectoring is one of them. It's certainly one of the essentials to know what's going on under the ground, so that you can dig specifically, because we used to just have to dig to find things, and you'd spend ages. You'd dig a 4 metre by 4 metre trench, come back the next year and find that the grapevines were 1 inch to the left of the dig that you'd dug.
Oh dear, yeah.
But now you can target the likely places where you get the clues. And so it stops a lot of, shall we say, demolition, which is what archaeology is. It helps you to pinpoint things.
Now, an awful lot of archaeological sites are found by construction workers, aren't they?
Yes.
I guess there's a great temptation there for anybody who discovers you've got to get a building built, and all of a sudden you discover a mosaic or something. Mm-hmm. And there must be a great temptation to pretend you've not discovered it.
That was quite common, I think, in the past. And then the laws came in that said that you have to have a watching brief by an archaeologist so that they can see as you take the turf off. I mean, even when I had an extension done to my house, I was watching the digger do the foundations, which rather freaked them out, I think. But there was nothing, I hasten to add. But it is a very costly thing for developers. And I have to say that Keepnote Homes, who've done this site in Eastfield, that I know that English Heritage have said that they've worked very well and sensitively with them. And they recognise that it's a prime site, a site of possibly international importance, and a national monument, possibly.
Wow.
So they've understood it and actually changed the plan of where they're going to put the houses so that they don't destroy it.
No, and you can turn it into in theory, you could turn it into a local amenity, couldn't you?
You could, but it costs so much.
Right.
And I think they'll just do all the excavation, do all the recording, everything, and rebury it.
Right.
So that it stays intact, which is kind of sad. But, if you've just got a few walls, you might mark out on the ground where the walls were or something like that.
Yeah. Mm. It's amazing, isn't it? It's fantastic work, but so sad when other people come along and ruin it. Lovely to speak to you. Thanks for coming on.
And to you as well, yes. And just to say that, Eastfield, I understand it's quite a new town. And do you know what? Suddenly they got 2,000 years of history. Isn't that fantastic?
Instant history. Love it. Gillian, lovely to have you on. That's Gillian Hovell, self-styled muddy archaeologist, writer, broadcaster, and, of course, archaeologist. Do like this song.